people believe that design systems don't work in an editorial context, and our next speaker is here to prove them wrong. She is the director of open source initiatives at 10up and the lead developer for WordPress. She has a knack for figuring out what people need to know to get things done on their websites, including most recently the relaunch of whitehouse.gov for the Biden-Harris administration. Currently, she is based in San Jose, Costa Rica with her husband, 2 kids, and extended family. I am pleased to present, here discussing where design systems meets editorial experiences, Helen Hou-Sandi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Helen, and I'm really excited to be joining you all at Clarity this year, one of my favorite conferences. We're all here for the wonderful world of design systems, and I am here today to talk about one of the many applications of design systems, the editorial experience for a content or marketing website. During this talk, I will be referring to content and marketing websites as just websites or sites, and software as software, even if it's web-based. Frequently, when we talk about anything new or exciting in technology, it's from people who work in software. And that makes sense. These are places that operate at increasingly large scale, with hundreds, if not thousands of employees and millions of users, and have the mandate to push technology forward in service of their products. Design systems are no exception, and again, that makes sense. Software has branding, consistent components, interactivity guidelines, all of that good stuff. But if we think about it, websites need all of that too, right? That's not to say that web development is devoid of design systems. We see plenty of parts of a design system commonly used across website projects today, such as components, pattern libraries, and brand identities. The part that I would say is still sometimes missing is a set of guidelines and best practices, not for the developers in charge of implementing the design, but for the content managers who will be adding content within. There are wonderful content strategists who are doing great work. Not that it's not happening at all, but that work is often still separate from the design language of the site. What I hope you get out of my talk today are some inspirational yet practical examples of how thinking about a site's design system in relation to the editorial experience can empower your editor users and give you more peace of mind that, even with some flexibility in the CMS, the vision and goals of your design system can come to life. After all, we all want good outcomes in the end. A recent site I had the honor to be a part of building and launching at 10up was the new whitehouse.gov for the Biden-Harris administration. For a little background, we were on a particularly short timeline, just 6 weeks before the hardest of hard stops, noon Eastern on January 20th, Inauguration Day. Our first meeting with the previous whitehouse.gov contractors, January 6th. But that's a story for another time. In any case, we were especially excited to be united around the goal of giving this new administration its voice online. My primary role was to translate the designs into something editable in an intuitive and highly visual way using the block editor in WordPress, which you may sometimes hear referred to as Gutenberg. Whatever you might think of WordPress, and especially if you haven't touched it in a few years, it comprises a significant portion of the web, over 40% by some estimates, and with that comes user familiarity and well-maintained core software. With the block editor, introduced in late 2018, we have a powerful new editing experience built in React on top of a REST API that gives developers more tools to create highly visual editing experiences. The White House designs from the wonderful people over at Wide Eye Creative weren't just static pages to slice and dice. We had color tables, meaningful typography, Copious notes about everything from intended use of a given component to ideal character limits, high contrast and large text modes, and much more. I focused in on the components, or modules as we called them, as the building blocks editors would be putting together to construct pages on the site. This wasn't going to be a blank canvas page builder type of situation, which you may have experienced at some point, but something much more curated and guided for quick content creation and publishing to be able to respond to the fast pace of the modern world. We would have the basic core blocks like paragraphs and pull quotes and lists, as well as custom-built blocks representing carefully designed full-width components, such as the top of the homepage, where the current priority of the day could be clearly labeled and illustrated with quick access to important resources for people coming to the site. Let's talk some more about this particular top of homepage component. If we take a good look at it and read the notes in Figma, we notice a few things: a background image, a headline, a list of links, and a little sideways label. This label in particular is a piece of content that needs to be tightly curated because of the limited space, a headache I'm sure many of you are familiar with. The same goes for the links. We don't want a list of 10 or else it will look completely off balance, but we also don't want to say it always has to have 4. On many sites today, WordPress or not, you might see an editing experience like this. Let's face it, every web application is really just a dressed up form. So that's laid out here plainly. It's a form, you tap through and enter your content into it, and you do what I call save and surprise. You save it, refresh the live page, and hope it's a good surprise. The editors do go through content training, maybe they get a little handbook, but fundamentally, the experience remains disjointed and doesn't meet my standard for experiences on the web. It's not delightful. This method of content management is about developer control, only allowing editors to do things within your parameters. The instinct to go for this approach makes sense. After all, both design and engineering have poured themselves into bringing the vision to life, and you don't want something like an extra long string making it look all weird. What I want to think about, though, is flipping the perspective from developer control to editor empowerment. The outcome might not even be all that different, but by setting ourselves up to think about empowering editors to get the best results, rather than trying to control them, we might be able to come with more robust and user-friendly solutions. So, remember when I said I was brought on to make an intuitive and highly visual editing experience? Well, even with the short timeline, I was operating on a bit of a blank check in terms of scope and hours spent. To me, this was exactly the type of client we want to have an editing experience as close to one-to-one as reasonably possible. From a technical perspective, this was also an exciting place to really take advantage of React and reuse our markup and styling from the front end directly in the editor, essentially replacing the places where you would print out the text on the front end and turn them into rich text editing in place in the back end. So this is where we landed. As you can see, that funny label text feels a little weird to enter because it's sideways. We gain the advantage of immediately being able to see how it fits into that context visually. The same thing goes for the headline and the links, both of which are more flexible, but still benefit from being balanced. One other thing that this visual editor allowed us to do was visually toggle the text panel between the left and right sides so that it could be used with a wider variety of background images. So the outcome is still similar to that form field-based experience, where editors are carefully guided through the parts that can be edited and not left with a free-for-all where they're trying to edit column widths and font sizes in a page builder. But they're much more empowered to experiment with the content and shape it in a live preview context without having to risk a save and surprise on the live site. Let's keep talking about the homepage. Another thing in the design system was that the homepage was not a place for the more free-form content you might find on inner pages, with paragraphs and lists and accordions and whatnot. There still needed to be some flexibility in terms of order and number of components, or blocks, but only a handful of them were meant for use on the homepage, with a couple of them only meant for use on the homepage, such as that top component. Now, if we think about it, the homepage doesn't see drastic changes all the time, but rather typically just has the content edited within the already built layout. But we do need some flexibility. If you looked at the site maybe a couple months ago, you would have seen a vaccine tracker component. What we did here was define a starting template for the homepage with the typical homepage blocks pre-inserted, and then only make the subset of blocks intended for homepage use available to the editors for further insertion. I did say that fully setting up a whole new homepage is in practice not all that common, but what better way to showcase just how quickly you could ship one out the door than doing a whole demo? Again, you see this topper area, and then we get into some featured news. Here, it defaults to the latest, but we're able to pull individual items to the front, choose between a few layouts depending on how much imagery we have available, and then set custom images since the aspect ratio is so different from the way featured images are shown on individual news items, which you'll get to take a look at in a bit. Under here, we have a side-by-side image and featured content block, where we can flip between sides so that we can stack them for an easy-to-scan and visually interesting alternating effect, again, with clear guidance through the pieces of content to edit. Here you can see that the links will give you a little heads up if you forget a URL. And then when you're focused on editing another piece of content, it hides that incomplete link so that it's a true preview of what will happen on the front end. Then we get to the final block. This one a full-width featured content item with a clear call to action, a not sideways label, and an optional image, giving editors the ability to see the impact of the chosen image, how it interacts with the overlays, and decide if, in context of the rest of the page, just the default solid color background is enough. Once it's published, we can take a quick scroll through and see that outside of the very top and bottom, which are reused across the entire site and not editable in a single page context, it is an extremely close one-to-one match between the editor and front end. In fact, while I was making this screencast, I had to redo it because I was scrolling down the editor thinking it was the front. I had a lot of help in achieving this result, so it's not just tooting my own horn. Although, as Malice said, I tried being humble. Humble gets no respect. Here's one of those single news posts from the White House. We might not think about these top parts too much in design system terms. There's a title, a date, a category, and a featured image, all very standard stuff. And it's true, this is probably more like content strategy territory if we want to get picky about it. I want to show you this because it's where we took both design and content thinking and brought them together for a piece of user experience that we might not have thought about otherwise. The low-hanging fruit is styling the title, but the real magic here is bringing the date and category out of a sidebar panel that is easy to lose track of and frequently hidden because we're editing in a full-width context for that true life preview. And not only that, there is a specific functional requirement. Each news post could only be assigned to a single category from a fixed list. If you've used WordPress in the past, categories are typically multiple select and allow you to add new ones on the fly. By bringing the category selector into the main editing area below the title as it would be on the front end, not only do we include it on the overall editing flow, but we can meet that single selection requirement without having to try to pigeonhole it into an existing paradigm. As a bonus Easter egg of sorts, the date actually shows a date picker when you click on it. When you add that to applying the full front-end styles to the default paragraph blocks, we once again get a true one-to-one representation of the content in the editor, nearly indistinguishable from the front end. One thing we didn't tackle because it wasn't necessary given the design constraints was including color palette controls in the editor. For the White House, there are no colors you can change in the CMS, so we don't have to worry about what editors are doing with them. That said, there was a comprehensive color table showing which combinations had acceptable contrast ratios for different uses. Another powerful thing you may find yourself wanting to implement someday is the ability to smartly choose background or foreground color based on user selection, and guiding users to select acceptable combinations by making it difficult or even impossible to end up with a combination that is either inaccessible, doesn't meet the design system guidelines for that particular use, or both. Combined with the ability to preview those changes live in the editor, you give both editors and yourself confidence that good choices are being made. My last item today does not come from the White House, but I wanted to share a prime example of where defining and referencing your functional requirements clearly ends up showing that something that, in terms of UI components, is a single concept, but when it comes to editing, it actually needs to be two separate editor blocks. Here we have two slightly different lists of links. There is a little icon for links that are to documents or PDF files, but otherwise, in terms of the design language, this is a single UI component with a slight variation. However, when we dig into the functional specs, we see that the documents are actually programmatically related to the single content item that the block is used on, whereas the other links are entirely arbitrary. We still benefit from reuse in terms of markup and styling, but the handling in the editor is very different. The Documents block allows editors to upload more documents and reorder them, while the Links block does its job with allowing editors to arbitrarily enter link text and the associated URLs. By mindfully separating these in the editor, we make it much clearer to the user what each of these components communicates. The design isn't just about how things look and behave, but what they communicate and why. Giving our editors the tools to effectively broadcast their message in the ways that have been so carefully planned takes our design systems from a passive reference to an active part of our websites, even after development and launch. I hope that this journey through editorial experiences has given you all some food for thought about further applications of design systems. Software is very exciting to work on, and I have no real data to back this up, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are just as many, if not more people involved in the creation and maintenance of websites, and that should be included in our ever-rising standards for development. Thank you so much for joining me today. We'll continue the conversation in a live Q&A, and you can also find me online as @Helen Hou-Sandi on Twitter. Bye.
All right, that was great. I hope everyone really enjoyed that. And I have Helen here with me to kind of go over a bit of what she was talking about and to answer your questions from the chat. So how are you doing, Helen?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Your talk really resonated with me on a lot of different levels because a lot of the work that you did has been things that I've had experience with either in the past or currently. I love what you said about like using WordPress as powering this really big, high visibility project, because a lot of people I know from the developer standpoint, even from a design standpoint, tend to always think about WordPress as in a very not so great light, but like it really is a very, very powerful tool and it powers so much of the internet. I don't know if people really know this, they probably don't, but it's parts of Slack.com, which is what I work on, are also powered by the WordPress REST API. And we built a customized CMS based on their GUI interface and the REST API. So like it's a hugely powerful tool. And I love the idea of having to intersect with a like more fleshed out design system. So I kind of want to get you to get into that a little bit more about how do you see design systems and for sites and marketing sites and marketing materials sort of intersecting with product design systems? And then I'll answer the same question.
Sure. Yeah. So in my roles, right, it's like we have like the working on WordPress site itself side, which is like the product design system or lack of design system sometimes in open source land. And then on the agency side, like working on sites, right? So there are a lot of times where honestly, like they don't match. It can be nice if you are a product company, right, that has like your marketing site and then you have like your actual product itself. It's nice if you can have reusable things, but frequently like the way people used to, maybe still today, use Bootstrap for front ends of sites. And it was like, well, Bootstrap originally was intended as like an administrative interface, right, kind of system. And so you're kind of reusing things that were not fully intended for like reading something content-based, reading something document-based, but rather were intended for interactivity. But where we are today, those lines are not super clear, right? Like we expect a lot of interactivity. We expect a lot of those things, even on something that's informational, more like a document on the web, right? But yeah, like I think it's okay if they're not the same thing, right? Like sometimes we maybe work a little too hard to try to bring everything together and it's not actually serving everybody in the best possible way. Yeah.
What do you think?
So I definitely agree with you on that, where like they don't necessarily have to be the same. In a lot of ways, they really should diverge because the processes for working on a product and the process of working on more editorial driven sites and content is very, very different, purposely different. And the design systems themselves should reflect the processes and the way that those individual teams and systems work. First, as I mentioned, when I working at Slack, I do work on the marketing design system. We also have a separate one for the product called Slack Kit, but we do try to leverage a little bit of each other. Like they're bringing more of the product of the marketing and brand one into the product. You may have noticed that some of the more onboarding experiences or the more editorial parts inside the client itself are starting to adopt more of what we consider to be the marketing visual language. And we're starting to learn how to blend the two together in those transitional phases when you're transitioning from being a prospect on the marketing side into being a user in the product part. We're trying to like have gradually visually change you from one system to the other. So there's a section in like the user onboarding, user education part that kind of blends the two systems in a kind of clever and hopefully not too jarring way.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I really love that idea of like, yeah, you're transitioning from, observer into user, right? Like I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, because before it was kind of a jarring experience where if you logged in from slack.com, the marketing visual language, you kind of were just thrown into the product world. And yeah, it could be just a little unnerving to kind of have that visual change. So we're trying to like gently ease people into it. And I think it's a pretty good way to, it's so far been pretty successful. Okay, so let's see. We have another question here from Rachel. So what sort of end-to-end end user testing do you do on such a short timeline as you've had?
Yeah, I got asked this not long ago, right? It's like, how do you, incorporate like testing strategies, any kind of testing strategies when you have a super short, like 6-week kind of timeline? And the answer is like, you kind of don't. You don't really have like a formal testing plan, right? And I think a big part of it is that like you really think about like who you're bringing on board, and you're talking about bringing on people who are strong in QAing their own work, right? So like you can say, big processes, right? Like you have big builds that take many, many months. And a lot of times it happens, not because it's redundant, but because you have to think about how you staff up that team. Right. And you're talking about, okay, I have this engineer who's really strong at doing certain things, but maybe they're not so great at actually translating design into functional requirements, right? So then we need an additional person who's doing that translation. And then how do you time out their work and blah, 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 right? So that's often where like your big projects kind of take a really long time, is because you have different people with different strengths. And then how do you integrate their work all together? On something like this, like you have to be really deliberate about putting on people who can do all of the above, right? Like the more unicorn types, I guess, is like what people like to call that. And again, like, yes, I quoted Malice. I grew up in Virginia Beach, so that's a hometown heroes, the clips. But that is who I am in a lot of ways, right? Is that like I have a really strong ability to take designs and translate them into engineering tasks without needing somebody to come in behind me and be like, oh yeah, the UX makes sense. Like I can just do it, right? And when you have that short of a timeline, that's what you have to do. Like you can't rely on somebody else to be kind of back checking your work, right? So yeah, there's no real like formal testing. It's just us doing it, us developing things and slicing up the work in a way where the digital team, right, the actual content team that is going to be using this can get in there and start getting used to it bit by bit, right? As opposed to being like, okay, let's get everything to a beta state and then polishing it from there. But instead, you're working one thing at a time, getting that to,
most of the way there, so that then the editorial team, the digital content team, can actually get in there and start getting used to how the editor works, how things fit together. And they're also giving you feedback as they go, right? So you're just integrating things like, hey, I found this thing really confusing when I was using it, or hey, like I expected this option, but it wasn't there, or hey, there were like way too many options and I got really confused and I couldn't get my stuff out there quickly, right? Which is actually, I find to be the bigger problem, right? Where we give too many tools, and so then it takes too long to get your stuff out there. And when you're trying to like, rapid fire respond to things, right, like have fast agile communication, like you don't want to be spending all your time like trying to construct the page, right? Like I saw a comment fly by that was like, aren't editors frequently like constructing whole pages? And it's like, yes, but not like thinking really hard about the layout, right? For sites like this, it's still like that document model, and you're kind of just, you're putting your content in there, and you just need the bits and pieces to like make certain parts of the content fit the narrative that you want, or like pop out or get your attention. But you don't actually need a million layout tools. You don't need a million options. You actually want to tighten that in to make their workflow better. And also as a, on the development and design side, that does make your life a little easier because you don't have to account for a million different combinations, a million different cases.
Yeah. So there was a question I saw that kind of nicely segues into what we were talking about here, but how do you see like a content designer fitting into the system? So, yeah.
I mean, I think that's like part and parcel of getting that design system in place in the first place, right? Is that you really need content design as a part of that, because they're the people who can tell you like, this is the type of content we're going to have and what we need in order to communicate it, right? Like not visually, but like, here's the type of things that we'll have, and, that we really need to focus in on, and enabling those, right? So like, I really think that if we all, right, like whatever your discipline is, if we all kind of unite around like enablement, right, as our goal, it keeps us aligned together, and it reminds us like, yeah, we need to include different people together in different parts of this process, right? So yeah, content design for a marketing site especially is like part and parcel of like how you even come up with the system in the first place, right?
Yeah, actually, I love that point you made in your talk about going more towards editor enablement versus sort of surprise, save and surprise, I think is what you called it, or something like that. Which is, when you said that, I definitely recognized some actions that I was taking on our system side, because the CMS that we sort of designed and built is very much about design and developer controlling what is possible in the editorial experience, which as I'm learning from you, it's probably not the best approach to it. Like, we definitely should go more towards figuring out how to enable the editors to do what it is they're trying to accomplish versus trying to control all the factors. I'm a little bit of a control freak myself, so I got to learn how to like take my hands off the wheels a little bit. I want to say that design systems workers as a whole kind of are, but maybe that's just me projecting. I don't know. But
I mean, I think that, it's really flipping your mindset. Like I said, like it may not actually change your outcome, right? Like they say, like constraints are what really breed creativity, right? So it's okay for us to like exert that control. It's just about like, what is the end goal of that control, and like the ways in which we manifest it, right? And I think that if we flip our mindset a little bit, it comes out in ways that are like actually more productive for everybody involved.
Yeah, and I definitely love that mentality, because a lot of the downsides we do hear about design systems, particularly in editorial context, is that they are so constraining and they limit creativity and limit the message that you're trying to put forth. So like being able to switch our framework and switch our mentality is definitely going to help towards breaking down that barrier. All right, great. So thank you so much, Helen, for your time, and your talk was fantastic. I learned a lot as well. So we are going to go into a quick lunch break now. So we will go ahead and see you all back after the break with our next talk.